Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words. If you like legacy content, this is probably a pretty good place for you to be, because I'm just going to be doing nothing but legacy videos, mainly combo. Anyway, let's look at the deck I'm playing today. It's a deck called HELM'S, which gets its name because it's a Helm of Obedience combo deck and a Dark Depths combo deck. Now, if you don't know, the Dark Depths combo is, if you have Dark Depths in play and Vampire Hexmage, you can remove all the counters from Dark Depths and make a 20/20. You can also do that with a Thespian stage as well, if you need a different way of doing it. So you've got the Dark Depths combo with 2 B pieces for it effectively, so you get to run 8 of the second piece of that combo. Helm of Obedience combo is Leyline of the Void or Doughty Voidwalker. Both of them stop cards going into your opponent's graveyard. So if you use the Helm of Obedience on your opponent, you're going to mill their entire deck and win the game. So again, it's an A plus B combo, but your B has 8 parts. What's good about these combos is that the way that they attack the opponent are completely different. So to stop with Dark Depths, you're looking at things like Wasteland or Swords to Plowshares. But to stop your Helm of Obedience combo, you need ways of destroying 4 mana artifacts and enchantments, which is something that not everyone can do. Also needs things like Pithing Needle. So what it does is it taxes your opponent in multiple directions to try and deal with your combos. Meanwhile, the rest of the deck is doing some pretty expected things here. So you've got mana acceleration in the form of Dark Rituals and a few artifact manas. So you can play turn 1 Chalices to shut off things like Swords to Plowshares mainly to protect your Dark Depths combo. And then you also have a sort of other 2-card combo that I like. It doesn't immediately win the game, but it's pretty strong, which is Ancient Tomb and Urza Sarg, which means you can start cranking out the construct tokens from turn 2. So you've got like a plan C of just beating down with these guys, which can then also find you 1 expedition map, Pithing Needle, or a Shadow Spear, depending on how you have to pivot, and obviously your artifact mana. The reason why I like this deck at the moment is because Leyline of the Void and Doughty Voidwalker are both very strong. So they're excellent tools against Reanimator and Delver, which are 2 of the best decks in the format at the moment. And Chalice of the Void is still a fine card. It's not as strong as it used to be because people can prismatic ending it away. But because you want to win the game relatively quickly, this will buy you a few turns. So the turn they spend removing this, they're not removing your 20/20 and they die, etc, etc. So basically this deck comes out the gate pretty fast and just wants to put the opponent under a very quick clock. Or sometimes in certain matchups you'll be playing like semi-prison pieces. With the Chalice and the Leyline and the Doughty Voidwalker. In the sideboard, we've got some more removal spells. We've got some Hand Disruption in Hymn to Torak and Court of Ambition. I like Court of Ambition because it's basically, in the matchups where you bring it in, it's just another pay 4 mana, put this into play, and it basically wins the game. So it's like a 1-card win condition that does the things you want it to do. It draws you into your own win conditions whilst stripping their hand of things to deal with it. And then I've got some other removals. So Toxic Deluge and then these 3 Plague Engineers. Due to the fact that the new set has just put some really strong Lords into play, I think the Plague Engineer is a very good spot at the moment. I did a league with this yesterday. I went 3-2, which was fine. But I think Plague Engineer is very good at the moment. So I'm really happy with roughly where it is. Needs a bit of tuning, of course, but that just comes through time. Anyway, let's get into some games, shall we? Okay, we're in round 1 and I've won the die roll. So we have some options here. So this is my opening hand that I've been given here. We can make a turn 2 Chalice or a turn 2 Doughty Voidwalker. If we draw a Vampire Hexmage, we can make a turn 2 20/20, which is pretty good if we lead out with the Dark Depths or the Urborg. However, I'm not convinced that I want to play a hand that doesn't have a turn 1 play, especially in a format with so many scary things. So I'm going to actually mulligan this one. So what do we have here? So we have a turn 1 Chalice of the Void, and then we have 2 halves of other combos. This hand doesn't feel great to me either. So we're going to see what our opponent does, if they mulligan or keep, but the chances are I think we're throwing this one back. I'm going to mulligan to 5. Okay, so this hand doesn't have any suitable mana really, so I'm afraid we're going to have to go again. Okay, so I don't think we can realistically mulligan to 3 cards, so we're going to keep 4 here. We do have a turn to 2020 off of this hand. Using these 4 cards. Yes, we can... Yeah, okay, sure. So if we put this back and this back, and we can either put one of the petals or one of the dark rituals back, they're both the same. Most likely my opponent is going to play... The thing I'm most worried about is going to be something like a Chalice of the Void or something, which is most likely going to be on 1. So I'm going to bin off the dark ritual, because that will get around a chalice, which is one of the things I should probably be trying to play around with a hand like this. Yeah, I'm completely stone cold dead to Wasteland, but again, it's a multi-4. So we just play out the Thespian stage and say go. There's definitely an argument for playing these Lotus Petals, but I'm going to keep them in hand so my opponent thinks they've got to play around something. In case they are a combo deck, I don't want them to just completely combo off immediately. Okay, so now we're getting Faithless Looting here. So they're not respecting that I have cards in hand. So if they don't have a Lotus Petal, I think we're okay for a 2020 this turn. Because they're on the slower Reanimator hand. Like, this is almost certainly Reanimator this time. Yeah, okay, so this is Reanimator. So now they're going to unmask me, so I'm going to get punished for not playing out the Lotus Petals, which is one of the things that could have happened. And it did. So this is going to be an interesting one. If I'd have played out everything, I would have been fine here. Okay, so we play out the Lotus Petal this time, since we know what we're playing against. Now, we can't get this Dark Depths up and running this turn. We need another mana. But this deck doesn't play Wastelands, but it does play the Archon of Cruelty, so it can discard a single card from my hand, even if it's a land. So we play out the Dark Depths now. So hopefully the worst they can do is put a massive guy into play. If they put multiple massive guys into play, it's a little bit of an issue. But the 2020... Okay, so they're just putting in a Gristlebrand. They get to draw some cards, so it's going to be... Unless they can float them, if they can get more mana off petals and things, and then play a Archon of Cruelty, I'm guaranteed to have a 2020. Pre-board, they don't really have anything to deal with the 2020, so I'm not necessarily sure that means I'm favoured here, but it's something. Okay, so now we have the ability to make a 2020. We don't need to make it now because he can play an Archon of Cruelty. So basically I have to wait for him to go into combat to try and deal with this situation. Unfortunately, if he goes into combat and attacks, I have the choice here. Because if I make this 2020 and block and he Archon of Cruelties me, then I will die, I think. But if I block this, then that's 7 cards he doesn't get to draw. So basically we're in a spot of bother here. I think we make this now. It's not a great situation, to be honest. We get to clear the Grizzlebrand. Choose a Dark Depth to keep. I want to keep this one. And then we get counters. There we go. We get to kill his 7/7. He'll probably draw some cards here as he's going to gain some more life. But it means he can't draw 14 cards this turn by me blocking. The chances of me winning this game are very low because he already has the Archon of Cruelties in the bin. He just needs a removal spell for them. Lotus Petal. Fortunately, this matchup is incredibly good because my deck has got 8 leyline effects in it. I played against this twice the other day with this deck, so it was just 2 effective free wins. Interesting they're evoking that. I guess they probably just got all the things. They got 10 cards in hand, so they're probably just going to be able to strip me of everything possible and then do the thing that completely puts the game away. If they can make an Archon of Cruelty this turn, yeah, okay. Have they targeted there? Yeah, so they got the Archon of Cruelty. I can see the game. Alright, so Sudden Edicts are pretty decent here. It stops something that's slipped through. Why is this all mixed up? There you go. So what's bad here? Expedition Map is incredibly slow. We're not going to get through the turns to churn through that. This isn't a Shadow Spear game either. We're not trying to race them with tokens, which gives us one more cut. So Pithy Needle stops the Grizzlebrand. Dark Rituals help me power out of Darty Voidwalker on turn 1. So basically I want to be able to go turn 1 Darty Voidwalker, turn 0 Leyline of the Void. Let's have a look. There's a good cut here. The Helm of Obedience is probably trimmable here, but I do need a way of winning the game. Same with Vampire Hexmage. I think we have to cut one of the Helm of Obedience here. Is it Helm of Obedience or is it a Hexmage? I think we cut Hexmage here, because these can get sacrificed more easily by the Archon of Cruelty, so they're a lot less useful to me than just having a way that's going to win the game. So I basically want to have one of these effects. So I'm well to 4 that game. Didn't have the greatest of starts. Let's have a look. So we have this turn 1, and then we're making Urza Saga tokens on turn 2, and then yeah. So this is going to be an Urza Saga game with a Leyline, which means I'm very cold to Serenity. Which is a real thing I should have to think about here. But I think we have to keep the Leyline of the Void hand here. At least force them to have it. They saw me take a little while to decide whether I was keeping this hand, so maybe they'll change their decisions. Okay, so I'll put this into play to begin with. We're going to play this out. Yep. I'm going to play this petal out this time. We don't want to use this to make this if we don't have to, but we might. So again, this hand doesn't have any black mana apart from the petal. So we ideally want to keep this to start off a Dark Ritual Chain for when I need black mana. Serenity. So there's a Serenity that we were worried about. Sure. Okay, so instead what we're going to do this turn is we're going to pivot into a 2020. So we play this. Crack this for black. This is what I mean when I was talking earlier about how I have different options for combo. So this is just going to destroy all upkeeps and artifacts. All enchantments and artifacts. So it's going to blow up my Urza Saga, unfortunately. I haven't seen any Reanimator lists running Sudden Edict, so I'm not going to play around that by making this now. So as you can see, this combo deck is pretty all in. Okay, so they're on Faithless Looting. So at this point, they have to reanimate something to put in the way of my 2020. And I need to make sure I didn't press the wrong button and pass priority past their end of turn. Okay, sure. So this is one of the things. So they had to mulligan to something that beats the hate, which just meant that my other combo could slip in under the radar. So again, we're going to submit the same deck here. I don't think we're in the market for any discard here. Yes, this seems fine. So this time I basically need a Leyline, unless they're mulliganing low. If they're mulliganing low, it means they're prioritizing hate over anything else. This hand is definitely too slow anyway. It has no acceleration in my deck that has a whole bunch of acceleration. So we're going to mulligan. So we've got the Leyline. We've got the ability to make a Darty Voidwalker after they clean the Leyline, and I can also kill off a guy that comes along. So I've got a lot of options here. The question is, what do I bottom here? So I could bottom the redundant copy of Leyline, which I think I will do because I have the Darty Voidwalker. because Doughty Voidwalker is almost impossible for these decks to beat, because they're not bringing in graveyard hate. They're not bringing in creature hate against me usually. So basically I just need to make sure I don't get hit by discard this turn. Famous last words. Again, the leyline could be enough if they don't have the answer for it. They took Sudden Edict rather than Doughty Voidwalker. That's a very interesting play to me. That means they might be on Show and Tell, which is why we bring in the Sudden Edicts anyway, because Graveyard Hate might not be enough to get around them, and it's basically free with what we're playing. So this turn, we don't have any big plans. We play the Urza Saga out. We are liable to get it Wear-Teared, perhaps. Seems unlikely given that I have a much better enchantment, but you know, it could get caught up in a Serenity or something. So I just want to make sure that that my land drop is safe, so I can make my redundant copy of Leyline in the Void effectively. Because then they're going to need a creature answer and an answer for Leyline in the Void. So basically, this is the real key turn. If they don't play any spells this turn, then I think I'm all right. Apart from the only thing I'm worried at that point about is Show and Tell, which is a very real thing they can use. Okay, so what we got here? We've got some action on their side. Okay. They maybe mistook this for Opposition Agent for that fetch, because that's a very strange fetch. Unless they wanted to have the fetch in their graveyard for some reason. Maybe just to stop me getting more mana, which is an interesting play. I'm not going to sacrifice my 3/2 guy that suppresses their graveyard just to get a fetch land. But we'll see. And if they had a fetch land in hand anyway, they knew they were going to give me one. I don't know, it seems like an odd play to me there. Like, obviously they're not holding it for anything. But okay. So now we start attacking, I guess. This can't be blocked by anything in his deck, so we should be right. Or their deck, I should say. So now we have the option of playing out the Urza Saga. Serenity kills off one of my Graveyard Hate pieces, but doesn't kill the other. So I think it's fine to play this and start committing to bigger guys, because I do need to win the game. There's also a trick you can play with Thespian Stave. You copy it as a Saga till it gets the make a token, and then you make it copy something else so it doesn't get any more counters and doesn't die. So you can just make tokens all the time. But that's much of a sort of grindier, longer game plan. Okay, so I feel quite happy with this. Sure, that's fine. I think we just play this out. This just gives us the most options. We're not going to need all the black mana. I don't want to play a second one out because of Serenity, and we've already seen this Serenity. Oh my god, I pressed the wrong button and missed my attack. I'm so sorry about that, everyone. I was too busy talking about my strategy here. So I didn't want to play the second Leyline out because they had Serenity. And this way I can just play a Leyline if they play it. Because I have 2 pieces of Graveyard Hate already. Oh dear. In case you haven't guessed, I'm relatively new to Magic Online. I've been playing Legacy for, I don't know, 15 years and Magic for 20 years. But a little computer program is giving me a little bit of trouble every now and then. Okay. We have to make sure we attack properly this time. Again, I forgot to make my stupid Saga token as well. I'm just all over the place today. I'm sorry about that. It's about midnight where I am recording this now. Okay, so we're going to make an Urza Saga token here. And then we're going to use his ability. There's definitely an argument for having Graveyard Hate in here as an option. But I think we're going to play this and then Grizzlebrand. So even if they do get a Grizzlebrand in play, they can't draw a million cards and just annihilate. Obviously, I'm still susceptible to some of the same things I was susceptible earlier, like Serenity. Which is why I'm not playing this. I also didn't really want to imprint. I'd rather just have the 4 mana for this. So we've got an Entomb on the stack. Okay, so they're giving me... what are they giving me here? They're just thinning their deck. Begin combat. Let's not forget to attack this time. There we go. If this comes down to with them being on 3 life, then I'm going to be very annoyed. So they can't draw a load of cards off of a Grizzlebrand. So they could put Grizzlebrand into play. Yeah, that's fine. And I've got something to sacrifice. I will not like to put anything in. Sure, so they can't Grizzlebrand here. Let's just immediately get that big boy out of there. So now I can play a Grizzlebrand on my turn if I want to as well. So yeah, that's the writing on the wall. So that's 1-0. Wasn't the cleanest of matches from me, but this is a very good matchup. So the deck should be winning this one every time, really. Anyway, right, let's do another round. Right, we're into the next round now. And what have we got here? So my opening hand has a turn 1 Chalice of the Void. And then doesn't really do anything else after that because I'm a bit shy of mana. So I think I have to mulligan this one. So this one has a lot of potential here, actually. We can keep this hand, I think. The question is, what do we bottom on this one? So we have the Leyline Helm combo. This is also just a great tool to have. We have the Chalice of the Void, if we want to go down that route with a Petal. So we can make a turn 1 Chalice of the Void, which then leaves us with the other combo. So basically we've got an abundance of riches here. So the choice needs to be, what are we looking to win the game with here? If we're looking to win the game with Hex Mage, Dark Depths, then we want to bottom the Helm. And if we're looking at winning the game with the Helm itself, then we bottom the other one. But I think because Helm is a 4-mana spell, and we're going to be shutting off my own Dark Rituals pretty quickly, I think we can put the Helm back and then maybe draw it later. But we start with this in play, which might just win me the game with their Reanimator. They do not appear to be Reanimator. So we've got Green Sun Zenith. So this could be a variety of options here. It could be Elves, could be a Maverick style deck, could be the Green White Depths deck. It's hard to say. Okay, it's not really where we want it to be. So we have a disappearing lands problem, which is quite common these days in Legacy because there's so many good options for the lands. So I have the choice here of either making a Chalice of the Void on 1, which would be very good if this is an Elves deck, or I can hold back my Petal and try and play through to the Vampire Hexmage. But because I've got artifact mana coming off of this, I'm more inclined to just play out the Chalice of the Void for now. This is an awkward hand. Like, this deck certainly has its fair share of awkward hands. That's what happens when you jam two combos into one deck like this. Especially when you're playing a mana base of Verza Saga and things. There's definitely an argument for maybe trimming them, but you need a burst of coloured mana and then nothing else. So Dark Rituals are usually good for that, or the artifact mana. Again, you have Urborgs as well, which certainly tie the room together. Okay, they are Elves, but they have a card that just ignores my Chalice of the Void. Fortunately, Elves is a very good matchup because I have Toxic Deluges and 3 Plague Engineers in the board. I played this matchup the other day, and it just becomes a different deck where all I do is just flop down these Plague Engineers and destroy them. So we'll see what happens here. Like, the ley lines aren't good in this matchup. Leaf Crown. So this is the new Elf Lord I mentioned earlier as one of the reasons to be playing Plague Engineer. Gives you the ability to play Elf spells and draw other cards. This is probably going to hurt me more than them because of this Allosaurus Shepherd, which is a bit of a gross magic card at times. Okay, so I'm pretty sure I'm down and out for this one. Let's have a look. Probably another draw step. So I've drawn a card I can't cast. So how much is this? Base spells, 5. So that's 5, 10, 15. Yeah, so they've got me dead on board. So let's just concede and go to game 2. Quite an easy victory for them on this one, but they're going to have bit of a hard time when they see all of my spells. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to board in all of my removal, including Sudden Edicts, because you need to Sudden Edict away the Alistair Shepherd quite often. So the ley lines are no good here because they don't really shut off anything in their deck. And what's going to happen is I'm going to grind their board away with stuff and then eventually win the game, which means I'm also trimming on Helm's here. So Pithing Needle was good for the little the Wildwood Symbiote, which flips all their things in and out of play. So we trim these. We want to keep a Miser's one just in case we need to win the game immediately. It's nice to have in the deck to draw. We need Hex Mage because it's just a guy that beats down. Because we're boarding in all these things, we want our Dark Rituals because we want to be able to power these out. So the last cut is probably an Expedition map because we're not really worried about winning the game. We're worried about not losing the game. So this is going to be the configuration. I think this is the exact same way I boarded the other day when I beat an Elf's deck quite easily with this. Okay. I would like to play first. Let's have a look what this hand does. It does nothing until quite a few turns into the game. So I can make a turn 2 chalice, but that's too slow. If I can mulligan and get turn 1 chalice, or I can get this hand that doesn't do anything, I can start making constructs, and I can deal with the Wildwood Symbiote, but I don't think that's good enough. I think we need to mulligan again. Okay, so this hand can make a turn 1 Plague Engineer, which is good, or we can slow play the Plague Engineer to pick up the Alistair Shepherd, which makes our further chalices we draw later better. So we're going to keep this. This does not look like a hand that needs the Dark Depths to win. So then we probably keep the Urborg just for ease of making all of our mana costs better later on. There we go, yeah, sure. Means even through a discard effect we can still cast these things. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to play this Urborg and I'm going to say go. So turn 2 I can play the Void Walker if I still want to get a bit more value out of the Plague Engineer. Right, if I can trade it, if I can get an Alistair Shepherd just by playing this, then I'll be happy. Now, Elf's decks sometimes do run discard. Okay, so we've got Birchall Rangers. Sure. So I think we play this. It's perhaps a little greedy, some might say, to play this guy out now rather than the Engineer. But the thing is, the Elf decks still have a lot of decent cards in them that can get around Plague Engineer. Being able to actually take out some of their cards, because it's going to take them another turn to build critical mass here. And their deck is a deck that wants to just flop out onto the board. So they're going to look what I'm doing and think, this isn't a lot, let me go. Also, I now have enough mana so that if I draw a Helm of Obedience at any point, I win the game. Obviously, there's only one in the deck, but it's still going to happen every now and then. See, ideally what I want them to do is, okay, this isn't ideal, but if they tap these 2 to play another 1-drop that dies to Plague Engineer, ideally an Alistair Shepherd, because that thing gets in the way of my chalice if I play one. Okay, so this is the turn that we make, unless we draw the Helm of Obedience, we just win the game. Okay, so the options here, I think we play the Saga out, so we can start making some constructs next turn to increase our clock. And then we're going to tap this for black, tap this for black. Oh, yep, sure. I'm going to play this, and we're going to name Elf. We're going to sweep away that board, and we're going to go to the declare attackers, and we're going to attack. And we're in a relatively okay position. Like, they're going to have some sort of answer for this sort of thing somewhere in their deck, so I can't just rely on this. That's why I wanted to clean up a couple of bodies. Yeah, so they got a Dryad Arbor, which means their Gaia's Cradle still taps with stuff. Collector Roof is fine in this situation. It can't block this. This just won't be attacking. And it won't be able to block this, and it doesn't matter because this is itself is an artifact, so it can still tap to make guys. I will be playing out the Lotus Petal just to make sure my guys are bigger. Not sure what sort of upkeep effect they have. I'll probably just have an F6 here. Okay, sure. Okay, I'm just going to play out my whole hand here, just because I want to be able to make all of my things. So we're going to go to attack. So having another one of these is going to speed up the clock dramatically. Okay. Add this for black. We're just going to take 2 off the Ancient Tomb to make a guy in their turn. So I need to make sure I don't pass through their end step like I did in the previous round by accident. So their plan at the moment is probably to natural order for something, like a 5/5, but and it will pump their guys that they do have in play. But there's only a certain amount of time they have before that becomes a play that does anything. Glimpse of Nature is interesting. They're just going to play some 1-drops into death just to draw some cards to try and dig, which is a fine plan. Like, it's not nice, but you have to do what you have to do sometimes. So they might have some sort of Abrupt Decay type effect or Assassin's Trophy. Usually Force of Vigor would be the sort of thing that they'd look to bring in against me after they saw my configuration in game 1. Which is something I have to watch out for. Okay, so let's make a 2/2. And then it'll become a 3/3. So this deck's got a few, it's got the mana rocks and it's got, well, not mana rocks, the fast mana, and it's got the chalice. So it's got a few things to pump up these tokens. So unless I draw a Helm of Obedience, I did not draw Helm of Obedience, that's fine. So we're going to make a artifact token here. And then we're going to tutor off of this. And we're probably going to get Shadow Spear. They're fetching around Pithing Needle here. Shadow Spear is bad now, sorry, because it just doesn't do anything with these. So we're probably best off getting Pithing Needle to name something like Wirewood Symbiote. Or we can try and be cheeky and snag one of their fetches with a Pithing Needle. So these are our 2 options. I think we're probably going to get this rather than any mana. I think we name... what is the correct name here? Elvish Reclaimer is something that lives through where we are now, and I know it's in their deck. I think that's probably better. It stops them getting things like Wastelands that can shut me off of various plans. So now we go to attacks. So we've got quite a big attack coming in here. It's just another thing that can soak up some damage if they do put the Crate Hoof into play this turn. Seems like a relatively tall ask for them to get too much going. But they do have 3 mana off of the Cradle, so they can tap these 2 and then go big. But we'll see what they're going to come up with. It has to be this turn. I've got 2 lethal unblockable attacks. So they can't even just deploy blockers and hope to win that way. They're going to have to try and win the game this turn, which is certainly possible. The elves can do a lot of crazy things in their deck. But if they're having to tap the Dryad Arbor for it, that's interesting. Their green Sun's anything. I don't have any response, so I don't know what they're going to find here. X is 1, so they can find an Elvish Reclaimer. They can find a Wirewood Symbiote. Okay. So then they're natural ordering that away. Sure. This doesn't win them the game, I don't think. I can block quite a lot of this damage, right? So we've got 9 plus 5 plus... So 10 plus 5 plus 5, that's 20. But I can block 4, 5, 6 of that and survive. So if they attack with everything, they lose here, unless they've got follow-up. Sure. Unless they're hoping that I press the wrong buttons here, which is a thing that happens. So we'll block. Let's soak up 4 here. Might as well have the Death Touch on the big lad. And we'll block this on here. on here to make sure this goes. So we're going to block. So we're going to take what 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Okay, so we're going to take 14 and then survive. Yeah. So they have to play something that can block a shadow guy. Sure. All right, game 3. I don't think we need to change anything here. All of these were still fine. Just guys that attack. And Toxic Deluges. There's an option for trimming on the Hex Mage because I'm going to be more leaning into Deluge here. So I could trim one of these for another Helm of Obedience, I think. Because I'm probably going to be in a situation where I want to be trying to wrath them a little bit more. Alright, I think that'll do. So if they have them, they're going to be bringing in Abrupt Decays this time. So what does this hand do? It doesn't do anything particularly good against elves, doesn't really do anything particularly good at all, to be honest. So we're just going to mulligan this one. So this is the Plague Engineer on turn 1 hand if I need it. This is the Pithy Needle. These are the things I want to see. We're going to put back the Hex Mage. You don't want to waste our black mana on the Hex Mage. And then we're done there. So my hand is susceptible to Thoughtseize, which is a card that they do like to play. Thoughtseize is rapidly becoming more of a card used by combo decks more than anything these days. Whereas like the control decks and stuff, instead of using a Thoughtseize they might have done in the past, you see a lot more Hymn to Turax now. But they didn't Thoughtseize me on 1, which is interesting. I'm going to assume that means they don't have it. Obviously they can still draw it. I can't afford to cast this because then I'm out of black mana and I need it for this. So I could just play this out now and hit the Dryad Arbor, but I think I want to try and get a little bit greedy again and try and get some value off of it as well. So I'm going to play this Pithy Needle. And this is going to name Elvish Reclaimer because I don't want them to be able to tutor for the Gaea's Cradle, which is going to give them the giant boost in mana that lets them start casting natural orders, which is the way that they get through a Plague Engineer. So they have to naturally draw it. So ideally this time we want them to play 3 1/1 elves. But now they know I have a Plague Engineer, they might be playing elsewhere. Okay, so they're going to just play the Grist. Interesting. This gives them a way of removing my Plague Engineer. Sure. That means we're going to have to pivot slightly on plan, but that's fine. We do have a potential combo in hand. We do need some more mana for it, unfortunately. So what we can do here, which is interesting, is we can play out the Plague Engineer and name insects. So if they want to kill my thing, they have to use the Dryad, otherwise all this is going to do is mill them. Obviously that's not the most exciting of plays. Another mana source would have been nice here. I think what we... this is interesting. If I play this guy out, then it means I draw a Dark Ritual and I can ritual this out. I draw an Ancient Tomb. I can play this and just win next turn, but they're probably going to use this to kill whatever I play. Or I can try and ramp this out this turn, but it means if they kill it, then I might be out of mana sources because I haven't drawn any actual lands, which is a bit frustrating. So I think we're definitely playing something this turn. We can't afford to not play something and just sit back. So I think if we play the Lotus Petal, we have a choice between playing the Plague Engineer. Obviously, we have to worry about what do you call it? The Collector Reef as well. So the Lotus Petals have diminishing returns. So I think we probably just have to do this. And I think we're going to go for the insect play here. And name insects to force something useful. So they have to sacrifice either the Dryad Arbor or or an elf that they play. And then hopefully it means that the second one of these, when I draw some mana sources, either a Dark Ritual or an Ancient Tomb, would be great. So there's 8 of those that I can draw. An Ancient Tomb would be very good. But we'll see what happens here. Okay, so now with Visionary. So you've got something... So this is a fine one because it cantrips anyway. So they'll probably use that to take out the insect... The, okay, there we go. So they're destroying my Plague Engineer. That's how we drew it up. Fortunately, this is not on this. Okay, so we've got an elf there. So again, it would be a great time to draw. So this is a -2, isn't it? Okay. Draw a mana source, please. They seem to be stopping on my turn. I'm not really sure why. I'm quite unlucky not to draw any mana sources here. But that is sometimes the life you play with these sorts of decks. Very good deck. So I've gone for a... I'm going to play this out because I can play an Urborg next turn, which will give me the 3 mana. This is certainly one of the weaknesses of the deck. But here we are. So this is probably going to be a very bad turn for me. So we're looking at Urborg. So you've got four Urborg, 4 Dark Ritual, 4 Ancient Tombs, all of which let me play my Plague Engineer next turn. Those are the draws we're looking for. X = 1, this is probably going to be Heritage Druid or something like that, I would imagine. Could be Berkshire Rangers because that would give them 2 elves. And they can just tap that right now for mana. Or why would Symbiont? Sure. Natural Order. Am I just dead this turn? I think I might be. Oh, I think my deck has beaten me rather than my opponent here, which is just one of those things that happen sometimes. How much is this? That's 9. So that's 19. So I am pretty much dead on their next turn. I don't think a big Toxic Deluge is going to help here on 1 life, which is almost certainly going to be the card I draw here because that would be the funniest. Let's have a little look-see. Yeah, the Grist was very good here. I think what was probably best was me drawing 1 proper land. I've got quite a few mana sources in my deck, so there's no shortage of them. Although, is my opponent just going to time out completely? If they thought I conceded and gone away to do something else? Okay, so we have the Dark Ritual. This doesn't have trample on its own, so I can get rid of one of their guys, but then I'm still dead. Sure. That was unfortunate. I do think the elf matchup is pretty good, purely because you have the pivot to the sideboard, but when you play a combo deck like this, especially when the mana base maybe is a little greedy, I say maybe, it is greedy, you have a fail rate to your own deck, and that's what I've hit there, which is, you know, you buy your ticket, you take the ride. Anyway, we're going to queue into another game now. Alright, we're into the next round, and what we have here is a hand that can play a Lane on the Void on turn 1, or on turn 0 even, so it automatically beats Reanimate to this hand. And then we have a very slow turn 2 Chalice into not really a lot of action. So if I knew what my opponent was playing, this would help a bit more, but I don't think I can realistically keep this hand because it doesn't go anywhere. And my deck isn't really in it for the long game. So this hand is very similar to the last one, but it has interaction with this in case I fall behind, as well as the ability to threaten Dark Depths sometime soon. So we're going to keep this, and I think we're going to get rid of the Doughty Voidwalker. So yeah, so I have a certain number of draws here that are pretty good. So we'll put the Leyline into play, and let's hope it's Reanimator, and I just get a free win. That would be lovely. They're called Geist, maybe they're like ghosts and reanimating things. A Tundra, so they don't care about it. So this is going to shut off Snapcaster Mage and reshuffles with Days Undoing is basically what we're looking for. I'm expecting my opponent to be on some sort of blue-white control deck, possibly Bant, possibly Jeskai, possibly straight blue-white, which I have seen, but it's rarer because you may as well splash red for the blasts. All right, so this could be long. So this is actually a sort of matchup where the Urza Saga plan is very good. Okay, so see here, the Dark Ritual isn't getting any better. But it does mean I could have played a turn 2 Dark Depths. But I think against a deck that wants to cantrip all the time, I think it's best to play this out. So I could have played slightly differently. So sort of play Stage, Depths, Swamp, and then use that. But I think just getting this down is by far the better play. I'm going to burn a little mana here, which is unfortunate, but is the case sometimes. So they got no graveyard and they got no 1-drops. They're a prismatic ending deck, which means they probably want to use it on this, which means they're not going to use it on something down the line. And they have to take a turn off to do it as well. I imagine that's probably what they're going to fire off here. Or they could just be a standstill deck. There's a few of those kicking around at the moment. Shark still, which is very good. Okay, so there's a prismatic ending. So it's a pretty straightforward 2-for-1 on their part. But let's see. This is a matchup where the Court and the HELM'S are going to shine. So we'll be able to get them with those in the post-board games. So we'll go here. So we're going to play this one out. Yeah. So we're slowly grinding up to a 2020. We have the ability to stop any pressure. This isn't a particularly quick matchup, but they are going to accumulate resources to the point where it's going to be difficult for me to win. But they are a Source to Plowshare deck as well. Okay, so the Wasteland is pretty good here. Now, if I can untap and draw another land, that'd be good before they Wasteland, but obviously they've just Wastelanded. So they're a 3-color deck with Wastelands. I can't imagine they've got many Wastelands, so they're probably on like a 1 or 2 Wastelands, I would imagine. It seems a bit greedy to have 3 or 4 in that particular mana base because it's going to have lots of double blue pips for things like Narset. Okay, so we have a win condition. We're going to play this out because if we draw an Urborg, we want to be able to have access to as much of our mana as possible. At the moment, we're very much under the gun. Fortunately, these Jeskai decks are incredibly slow at winning the game. I think the Shark Steel decks are just better at the moment, to be honest, than the straight. Okay, so they're a Stoneblade. Okay, so they do have a way of winning the game. I take it all back. This is a good speedy clock because it's going to go get Quarter Complete, as you can see here, and it's going to completely kill me, I would imagine. Again, we are on some draws where we can just win with a Helm of Obedience. If we draw a land that we can use for mana this turn, we can kill this Stoneforge. Running into that little fail rate of my own deck again, aren't we? See, the other league that I played the other day, or at 3-2, that I should have been uploading was great, but I pressed the wrong button on the recording, so that was a bit annoying. But that sort of showed off the deck quite nicely. So I'm going to get hit with the Cauldron this turn. So we need to draw land, Dark Depth. We need to draw Ancient Tomb into Dark Ritual, and then we can win with Helm of Obedience, which is the plan. We've got the time to execute it. Obviously, if we draw a land, we can take the 1-2 off the board, which isn't the greatest, but it means if they draw a Batterskull Skull or something else, it will stop them getting a bigger clock in. And it means that later sudden edicts are good. Like, there's no point holding on to sudden edicts because they don't do anything. Okay, so now we get to cast this. So we might be gaining 20 life in the very near future. I suspect this won't resolve, and if it does resolve, they have a Source to Plowshare in hand. Okay, so they don't have a Source to Plowshares in hand. If I draw an Ancient Tomb, I win the game. If I draw a Dark Ritual, I win the game, provided they don't have a counterspell, but they're on 2 cards at the moment. So I've got a lot of draws. I've got 2 draws steps at the moment to do it. So I've got 4 Dark Ritual, 4 Ancient Tomb. I can draw a Lotus Petal on this turn, and that'll still be enough. So I've got a lot of draws. Oh, just a land is also enough here. So I've got a few turns to draw. I've got 2 draw steps and a lot of draws. This is a very good draw for them, which narrows my amount of outs here. Very surprised to see another Wasteland from this deck. But I guess they're more of the Stoneforge. They probably don't have the things like the Narsets in the abundance that the control decks have, and they're certainly not going to be playing Jaces and things. At least I'd expect not. So again, Ancient Tomb will put me to winning the game. Dark Ritual will do it. Again, these things have to resolve. They only have 2 cards in hand. You've got to put yourself in a position to win a game. So this blocks 5 damage. This blocks 1 damage. So it's a pretty easy calculation that I should be playing this out. They could be a Daze deck, which means a Sudden Edict. But I don't think trying to stop 1 damage is going to be a relevant play here. What I can do here is I can kill the Stoneforge and then Sudden Edict this, which is a little bit risky. But I think if I can get this to block, then I'm going to be okay. Of course, they might not attack with it, which means that I just have to throw this under the bus. But you always got to allow for your opponent to make mistakes. Always put them in a position where you might be able to get them to make a mistake. They might just want to try and force damage here and think I'm going to chump. Like, not that it actually impacts the clock too much. Okay, so they've correctly identified what they should be doing here. Now, if I don't block here, I'm going to go to 4. And then if they have a Swords to Plowshares, I'll go to 6, which means it will be lethal for these 2 guys. So the reason I wouldn't want to block here is in case I draw a Dark Depths. But if that's the case, then I have the Sudden Edict as well. So I will actually go to 1 in that situation. It'll shut off certain lines for me though. But I think this is best to take it. Life Total is a resource. I should probably just use it. I'm certainly not favoured in this matchup. Okay, so this can buy me some more time if needs be. So this turn, I'm not going to attack, thank you. This turn we want to try and get this guy under the bus. If they have a prismatic ending on this, then I'm just dead. But I think keeping this back just in case I drew. Okay, so here's the Swords to Plowshares. So we let this happen. We go to 6, we go to 1 on the next turn, and then we get two rounds of tokens to try and keep me alive until I draw a Dark Ritual to win the game. It's not a great plan, I won't lie, but it's the best plan we've got right now. You can big uncombat all you like. Okay, so I'm going to take 5 and go to 1. So this shuts off Ancient Tomb as a double mana source. So Ancient Tomb doesn't win me the game, but it does let me put Helm of Obedience into play, which isn't enough. So we need a Dark Ritual now. We're on the Dark Ritual or bust line, but again, if we have a land and this guy can live, then we can block for another turn, and then hopefully generate 5 mana eventually. It's not looking great, because obviously every turn that goes by they're accumulating resources that they can use to stop me doing whatever I'm doing. They don't have 5 mana to hard cast a Force of Will, which is something. Okay, so they're playing another threat, so this plan does not work anymore. If they're smart, they should know that I'm on the Helm plan as well. So I've got 3 cards in hand, and one of them is Jitte. So Dark Ritual, that was not a Dark Ritual, so I can make 3 mana. Yes, I make 3 mana, can make a 4th mana, cast this, and then I don't have a way of winning the game. So what I need to do here is hope that my opponent doesn't attack with Stoneforge Mystic and maybe uses it to put a Jitte in or something. So this will give me enough mana next turn, because this can tap for 2 and it gets me a thing. So I have the win if I can survive this turn, which seems almost impossible. They just need to turn both their guys sideways. Now they're probably doing the maths here and we're thinking, okay, this is interesting. I thought they'd just put Jitte into play and equip. Just because that's a good way of dealing with shenanigans, but maybe they're hoping, maybe they think I've got something, so they want to have like a Force of Negation hardcast up or something. Okay, so they're attacking with both guys. I cannot win this. I will concede the game. So, not a great display of the deck, if I'm being honest. Okay, so what do we have here? So we have a bunch of stuff that we want, really. Not the Plague Engineers, and not the Toxic Deluge. There's another hymn there, though. So we've got all these hymns that are great, and we've got these Courts of Ambitions that are going to be great. They're not going to be as good because of the Stoneforge Mystic, but I think that means we want to be boarding in these Sudden Edicts. So the combo plan here seems less good. Like Leyline isn't giving me the most value here. And I don't know if I can afford to have that many dead cards. So basically Leyline is becoming Court of Ambition here. So these Helm of Obediences, they can probably go as well. I think it's going to be quite difficult to resolve such an expensive spell that needs 2 halves when I can just Court of Ambition instead, which does a very similar thing. So I'm going to board those out. Doughty Voidwalkers are just good guys that can beat down. Expedition Map finds me a thing. Pithy Needle can deal with other stuff. This is will deal with other stuff. Yeah, so we need to trim down to keep the courts here. So what are we looking at? The Urza Sagas here are great, and we might just be able to win games with Urza Saga. This is a grindy matchup where the Expedition Map can work, but I think we're just better off having, like, if we're looking at what we're choosing between, I think it's just better here. We want to be able to Chalice. The Chalices aren't as good as you'd think, though. So there's definitely an option for cutting Chalice, but Chalice stops the Source of Plowshares hitting the Dark Depths. So there's possibly an option for keeping these, or we could just trim one of them. Which seems fine. Okay, let's try this plan out. We're basically just going to brute force the game down is the plan. Oh, Jesus. What does this hand do? It allows me to play... Oh, this is an interesting one. So we can play turn 1 Saga into the Chalice of the Void, which seems like a bit of a nombo when I have the Dark Depths there, to be honest. We can... Okay, yeah. So we're going to keep this. We're going to play an Urza Saga game. They do have Wastelands, which is something I need to watch out for. But I think the Urza Saga game is so good against control that I think it's worth doing. So we'll cast this Let's Petal. We'll die Ritual. Chalice. X is 1. So this looks like it's getting a Force of Will. I think the pause on it suggests to me that it's getting a Force of Will, which means their hand is probably fine, but they were looking at the ponders to... Oh, maybe not. Okay, so now we've got the Urza Saga. So next turn we start making guys. And then hopefully it gets out of hand, and this can go and find me something to fix my mana a little bit. So they're not playing any spells on their turn, but they might be able to Wasteland. What are they doing here? Okay, I was going to say, where's their land? So then Wastelanding me here is pretty bad. For some reason they let me put my Ancient Tomb into place. If they Wasteland me now, I still get a guy out of it. And they get set back a turn. So this is a pretty good tempo play for me. It's not ideal, don't get me wrong, but I'm quite far ahead in tempo because I can't cast any spells under the Chalice yet. Obviously, I'm a little shy of being able to cast very much myself, but yeah, it's a funny game. I would assume a 7-card hand from my opponent would be put them ahead at the moment. But we shall see what happens, I guess. Sometimes you buy your ticket and you take the ride. Okay, so play this. Okay, sure. So we're 1 mana off of Court of Ambition, which is the plan. Oh, I pressed the wrong button and missed attack steps again. I'm so bad at Magic Online now. The interface is just not what I'm used to here. Sure. If I lose this game by 2 points, then I'm going to be very unhappy. I have a feeling it's not going to come down to that, but again, I'm sorry for those of you watching. Stoneforge Mystic. Okay, so this is a little bit of an issue. So going to go and get Cauldron Complete, I would imagine. Yep. So the trample means Court of Ambition is now a very bad play, which is annoying. If I can Sudden Edict them though, that would be helpful, which is something I can draw. I can't actually him to Turak, so we'll play the Dark Depths out. I don't think I'm blocking the Cauldron. I don't think it's worth my token. So I think we are going to attack this turn like we should have attacked last turn. Yeah. Seems very unlikely they would block. But yeah, I'm not blocking that turn with my construct, so I may as well. Okay, so what we need to draw here is running Sudden Edicts. Alternatively, Thespian Stage and get myself a 20/20, because currently they can't Source to Plowshares it. They would need to do a Source to Plowshares, a Prismatic Ending and a Source to Plowshares, and they can't counter the the Thespian Stage. So we're pretty good. So Thespian Stage is an excellent draw here. Sudden Edict is not great, but if I draw two of them, it's fine. Hex Mage is a bad draw. There's a lot of not great draws, so I don't want to start manually doing this because that's going to cost me loads of life. So instead, we're just going to draw another Hymn to Turak, which does highlight a problem with this deck, to be honest. Which is the mana is a little shaky. Which definitely makes me think about maybe cutting, like trimming down on Urza Sagas perhaps. Seems weird to maybe only have 2 Sagas, but I think it might be worth doing just to get a couple of extra swamps in the deck. We're not blocking this turn. So the reason we're not blocking is in case we draw something that allows me to put another artifact in play, so I can block more trample damage. Because at the moment it doesn't matter the size of the creature. Okay, so there's a Prismatic Ending. That turns their Source to Plowshares on. Which means if I can draw a thing to deal with this, then it will gain me 20 life at least. Unless it's a Prismatic Ending. And hopefully I won't have to do that. Okay, so they've got a Pithing Needle, which is one of the artifacts that pumps my my construct. Obviously now I've lost the one anyway, so we'll see. What is the correct thing to name here? I think we have to name Wasteland here. Because if we're trying to assemble Thespian Stage as our answer to what's on the board, I think we need to be able to not get Wastelanded off. My opponent is going to probably kill me in 2 turns though. So this is lethal if this flips. So I definitely have to put a guy under the bus this turn. Not a great showing from my deck, but it's definitely showing some ways that the deck needs a little bit of reworking in terms of the mana, I think, which is, you know, that's what these sorts of leagues are for. I'm not playing polished deck lists necessarily. I'm playing fun little combo decks with silly little names to see what I'm up to, really. Maybe they'll forget to attack like me because I'm not very good. Okay, so they know I have to block this, which is why they've attacked with the 1/2. So I block this and I take 3, 4, 5, 6. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I take 7 and get a 1, I think. Yeah, so we take another 4 and go to 1. So the 20/20 is not going to be enough here. I don't think there's anything in my deck that helps me out here. So it looks like we're just going to have another loss on the board, which is unfortunate, but you don't know how these leagues are going to start when they go. It would be nice if the one I tried to record that went wrong the other day, that was a nice 3-2 that showcased some stuff the deck went. Obviously, we can still have a similar record here. Well, we drew the Thespian Stage, and it was a couple of turns too late, unfortunately. Yeah, so that was certainly showed one of the flaws of the deck, I think. Let's go on to another round. Okay, we're into round 4, and I am on the play. So this hand makes a turn 2 20/20 and automatically beats. Oh, okay. So we know what they are there. So they're on Yorion. I think it's hard to turn down a turn 2 20/20. So we're going to keep this hand. And we're going to start with Leyline the Void in play and see how we go. The Yorion decks, they could be some sort of like blue pile, or they could be the classic Death and Taxes. So Death and Taxes is going to have a lot of things that are going to get in my way here, if I'm being honest with you. So we could be looking at things like Wasteland and Rishadan Ports and so on and so on. I'm playing this one out first because I can't afford to let myself not have black mana. So there's a lot of things that they could be playing here. Okay, so the snow-covered plains is giving me the impression that they are more likely to be D&T. So we're going to tap these for black, and we're going to try and make a 20/20. And then we're probably going to gain 20 life in the very near future. So basically, if they tap out, they die. So if they have a source to Plowshare, they have to keep it open. If they don't have a source to Plowshare... Caracas. Caracas is an annoying one for sure. So they need to keep the Caracas up. So we are on Vampire Hexmage beatdown for some amount of this game, I think. So I'm going to be able to get a few hits in where they won't be able to actually deal with... They can't like tap down to deal with what I've got going on here. So we're going to tap this one for black, tap this one for black, and we're going to play this instead. Because this guy attacks for 3. So if we're on the beatdown plan, we've got 5 damage a turn. So they're going to have to do something at some point. Like they might be able to keep the Caracas up and play some good threats. You know, it's just one of the things that happens. But Caracas is one of the reasons why Pithing Needle is in the deck as a Saga target. Obviously, it's just a very good target to have anyway. But for a deck like this, where you need to assemble pieces, being able to shut off Wasteland or Caracas is very good. Thalia, sure. So these will trade if they want to, which I don't necessarily want to. But I've got the beatdown going here. They can't wasteland me either, because if they wasteland me, I get it, and I can wasteland their Caracas. Obviously, if they wasteland me, they get my Dark Depths, which is less than ideal. But there are things that they have to think about. This has shadows, so it can't be blocked. And then we're going to make another Hexmage. So if they swing in them with the Thalia and don't have another follow-up play, they're going to take a lot of damage on the way back. So they have to think about what they're doing here. The Thalia makes the Dark Ritual look a little bit anemic, so it only produces 1 more and turns it into like a Pyretic Ritual or whatever those ones are called. Oh, red. You don't see that every day. Recruiter of the Guard. So that's going to be incredibly bad for me because I'm going to get something, no doubt, that causes me some trouble. Let's have a look. They could get a Cathar that will remove stuff. They can get a Flicker Wisp, which can block or remove a Maritlage if I have to make it in an opportune time. I'm curious what they're going to find. I don't... Okay, so they've just gone for the win the game quickly plan. Okay, sure. Are they attacking with that? No. Okay, so what do we need to draw here? Got some options. An Urwog is not a great one. So I think the Stoneforge Mystic means you want to try and get these off the board in case we draw a sudden edict. So we're going to be attacking with the team. So these can trade, but it'll put less creatures on their board. So there's definitely an option for me having done the attack with the Hex Mage last turn, which I think I probably should have done, thinking about it now. I'm not the best at doing the combat master of this deck because normally it's just 20 and you win. It's either you kill them in one hit with a big guy, or sometimes you chip them down with this, but it doesn't really matter at the speed you're clocking them because this guy's just an unblockable guy that just keeps going again and again and again. I need a way of dealing with this Caracas. See, that's one of the reasons why I was so up on the Saga plan, because it gets you the thing that deals with the Caracas. I'm curious what Stoneforge Mystic's going to find. Jitte would be very good. I don't think Cauldron Complete is necessarily the best one. The Batterskull might be alright because it can effectively cancel out this damage. But my opponent's letting the clock tick down a bit, so I don't really want to try and win by clocking, but it could end up being a thing that happens. These games can go a bit long when they're sort of taxing you and not necessarily having great things to win the game. Okay. So it looks like they're probably going to race. That would be my assumption with a block like that. Because normally when you see a block like that and leaving the Thalia, so they're not wanting to trade, they're wanting to exchange damage instead of creatures. So they... Oh, the Solitude is nice. Sure. I imagine that's going to target my Doughty Voidwalker. Yes, there we go. Yeah, can't really do an awful lot about that. So we're just going to gain a little bit of life. Okay, so that's multiple cards that they've exchanged for that though. So yeah, they've got the Recruiter of the Guard and an additional Thalia. Interesting they didn't want to trade if they had a spare Thalia. It seemed like a bit of a preemptive Solitude to me. I'm still on, obviously, if I draw one of my 4 Helm of Obedience, I win the game automatically at this point, because I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 mana available to me, so I can play through a decent chunk of things there. Obviously, I never seem to draw the Helm when I need it, but that's just one of those things. My opponent's taking a long time playing this one, so maybe they are new to the deck and they're thinking about a lot of the plays. Which is good to do. Is what these leagues are for, really. Let's have a look. So we got a Stoneforge Mystic that we knew about. Cross off. This is the thing I'm curious about. If it's going to be the Jitte, or if it's going to be the Batterskull, or if it's going to be the Cauldron. I think the Jitte is better here. Okay, they've gone for the Batterskull, so they just want to race and block my guys, which is fine, which means they're probably more likely to be on the Helm of Obedience plan soon. Again, if I can draw the Helm of Obedience, it's great. Helm of Obedience. It's a very funny looking Helm of Obedience I seem to have drawn then. So what I am going to do this time is I'm actually going to play out the second one, just in case they have the Cathar, who's a 2-mana flash guy that lets you blow up an artifact or enchantment. So pay. Oh, and I need more mana for this, don't I? I can't remember how to undo the things I've done because I need to tap the Ancient Tomb differently. Again, I'm new to this. Have I gone too far? So I can't do it. If I play this here, I can still cast Helm of Obedience next turn, I guess. Okay, so that was a very awkward play because I'm not familiar with the interface there. Apologies. again, I can still have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to cast a Helm, play this, tap it, and activate it. Obviously, I will float all the mana so I don't give them a window of any description. But we have two Helms of Obedience now. So we attack this turn. No. So the Batterskull has the distinct problem of getting stonewalled by 2 first strike guys. So if I don't attack, then they can't attack. And then we're both just taking turns drawing cards, which I'm not really sure who it favours, because obviously I can draw a card that automatically wins me the game. They might not know that. They should do, because they've seen 2 Leyline of the Voids. But there we go. We'll see. Alright, so I imagine they're going to just save the Batterskull. So they basically stop me from attacking, is all what the Batterskull does. I think the Jitte is the better play there, because it gets rid of all my guys, and Jitte gets out of control quite quickly. And it can give you the life if that's what you want off the Batterskull. The Batterskull is more of the blunt instrument, I think, in that regards. Also, the Batterskull is much harder to move around and do things with whilst trying to keep up Caracas. So I think it probably would have been better to get the Jitte or just the Cauldra and just keep slamming with the Cauldra and trying to race that way. But yes, we're playing the Can I Draw the Helm of Obedience while my opponent stares at their hand game, which is something that I seem to have been doing a lot on this stream. Like, oh, can I find the right card at the right time here? But that's combo decks for you. And again, because this isn't a combo deck that has a lot of filtering or tutory pieces, it means that I'm not able to find the other halves of things as easy. So I'm more about what my opening hand is. That's why I kept an opening hand that had a plan. I've been mulliganing quite aggressively 2 hands that have a plan, that have a way of winning the game. Because if you don't have a way of winning the game in your hand when you play this deck, then it's not really going to work. Just like Helm's Deep, you know, you're going to be getting destroyed by people, but then Gandalf's going to ride in on a white horse, and Gandalf in this instance is going to be the Helm, and he's just going to win me the game, hopefully. So, yeah, more reasons why it's such a great name for the deck. Okay, my opponent has finally played a Plains. And are they going to cast a spell? They might already have the Cauldron in hand, which is why they fetched a Batterskull. Okay. They've gone for a Recruiter of the Guard. So maybe they've realised they should have got the Jitte instead, and they're going to get a Flickerwisp to flicker the Stoneforge, or they're just going to get another Stoneforge, because that's probably an easier play, and it doesn't mean you have to drop your Caracas. Okay, so they've gone for the Flickerwisp. Interesting. Okay, so there's that I knew about as well. They should not be attacking me here. Okay, so are they allowing me to win the game? Am I going to draw? Is Gandalf going to ride in and save the battle for Helm's Deep? Let's see. It's an artifact, but it's not the one we wanted. So again, this is another piece of mana that I can use to make sure I have enough to activate the Helm when the time comes. So now the Stoneforge is going to just put the Batterskull in now. So I'm not going to attack into it, and we're just going to stare at each other for a little bit. If I naturally draw my Pithing Needle, I can just win the game as well with a 20/20. Or if I draw an Urza Saga, they have a few turns before I draw the Pithing Needle off the activate ability. So yeah, we've got options. So there is a play that can happen here. If I double block this and they have a removal spell, they can blow me out a little bit here. But because I'm on 23 life, I don't really care. I'm just going to take 4. There's no point in me trying to make that play yet when I can sort of let them whittle cards out of their hand. So I think next turn we take this play because they should be getting a Jitte next turn if they play the game correctly, in my opinion. Unless they're super worried about the Helm and they're just constantly keeping up. I'm not really sure what they can keep up there because they don't have an opportunity. They have to blow up both ley lines. So maybe I'll play out the third ley line just to make sure, because they're not going to have a destroy all enchantments in the main deck. Okay, so the Flickerwisp. Okay, the Recruiter's going, so they could just be running Flicker Wisps just to clock me as quickly as possible, which is fine. I still think the Jitte play is better because it shuts down what I can do to win the game a little bit. But we'll see. Maybe they're just going to get a couple of Flicker Wisps and then go for the Jitte. Okay, so they've gone for the Solitude. So now they have the play that I mentioned before, where if I double block, they blow me out. So we're probably just going to be single blocking and chomping and just trying to draw the thing. Oh, Gandalf. Love to see it. We're going to play this Chrome Mox. Oh, it costs 1, doesn't it? So we don't actually want to do that, so we cancel that. So we're going to tap this for 2. We're going to tap this for 1. We're going to play this. We're going to keep this one. We're going to tap this for black. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to play Helm of Obedience. Gandalf came to the rescue! The Battle of Helm's Deep was won. So, yes, that was nice. So, Death and Taxes has a lot of creatures. I have a lot of creature removal on my sideboard. Seems like a match made in heaven. So the Dark Depths plan is not very good against the deck with Thoughts to Plowshares, Solitude, and Flicker Wisp, and Caracas, and Wasteland. So there's a lot of ways in which that goes horribly wrong for me. So we are going to board out these Hex Mages, and we're going to keep the Thespian's stage side in because we need the Thespian stage anyway for lands, and Dark Depths can sometimes produce land, so we want to be able to threaten that. Chalice of the Void is okay actually. I think we're mostly on the Leyline Helm, but obviously the Helm it's obviously not the greatest here. This is an interesting one. So if we want to keep the Depths package in with these, just to make them be honest with Chalice of the Void, I think it's a case of either you board out the Chalice with the Hex Mage and just sort of use this as a thing that your deck can do, or we have to jig around some other numbers. I think we're probably just better off trying to Doughty Voidwalker people out and get this going, and then Helm of Obedience them. The only issue I have with this is that if they have any sort of Phyrexian Revoker, well, not so much Phyrexian Revoker because I can kill up any sort of Pithing Needle, then I'm kind of all in on the Doughty Voidwalker or the Dark Depths. So there's definitely part of me that is thinking that I want to be able to have a bit more action for Dark Depths. But we'll see what they board in game 2. If we don't see any Pithing Needles, then I think we'll be okay. Expedition Map, it can find me if I need to, or it can also find me the Urza Sag, which is my other plan. So I'm kind of going to try and do some more beatdown this time, I think. Yeah, I think that'll be fine. We sort of just bore into some removal and maybe getting them with the Gandalf riding in at Helm's Deep. So, yes, that was a Helm rather than a Deep game. So, maybe we'll... again, we had the turn 2 2020 in that game, but we couldn't do it because they had the Caracas, which is annoying. So, against the Taxes deck, you've got two options. You can either make the 2020 right there and then, on turn 2, if you're on the play sort of thing, and dodge the Cur and try and dodge the Wastelands, or you can save it, but then you have to dodge but then you're going to get hit by the Caracas if you try and make it. It's kind of, they get you coming and going with Wasteland and Caracas, so you kind of just have to hope for the best, really. Which is why I boarded out the Hex Mages, because I just don't think that's the plan I want to be on. I want to just remove stuff, and if I'm Toxic Deluging, I'm going to be killing my own X1s. So the main creature types that I want to think about for my Plague Engineer is the Elemental for the Flicker Wisps, which also hits Solitude, I think, and Humans for things like Recruit of the Guard and Thalia and Mother of Runes. So those are the things I want to hit with that. Stoneforge Mystic, unfortunately, I 1-2, so I can't name core and stop it from tutoring for anything. Stop it from putting anything into play. So we're just going to have to see what sort of hand we get out. Like, it is possible I could just get the turn 1 Helm of Obedience kill, and that's fine. That'd be nice. Like, when I played this deck in paper, yes, I have this deck in paper for some reason. I get quite a lot of turn 1 Helm kills, more than you'd think. So what does this hand do? Imprints this, makes this, doesn't really go anywhere after that, doesn't really interact, doesn't have a way of winning the game necessarily. I can imprint this. I can make 2 3/2s on turn 1 and hope that that's enough. That feels a little sketchy. Can I make 2 3/2s? So I put this. No, because I have to put one of them into it, don't I? So I put this into it. So I go 3. So I can't even make 2 3/2s on turn 1. I think we have to mulligan this one and try and go for a fast hand here. So this doesn't have any mana to speak of, so we're going to have to mulligan this one. This kills off their board, but doesn't really go anywhere. But I think it's still better than a 4, which is awkward. I think we can put 2 of these back. I think one of them. No, I think we have to put this back and this back. I think we have to be able to Dark Ritual into Thalia. If there's Thalia on board, we have to be able to Dark Ritual into Toxic Deluge, which still wouldn't require another land, unfortunately. Or we don't want to get wastelanded off, so that's why I got rid of the Urborg. Now, my deck's got quite a lot of lands, but obviously some of them don't really do anything necessarily, certainly not mana-wise. Okay. So let's make sure we actually play a land. I don't think we want to Chrome Mox anything. There's an argument for Chrome Moxing now so that I don't have to worry about Thalia. But this just gives them a target of something to remove. I don't think it's necessary because, again, no, I think we will play the Chrome Mox now just because of the Thalia. I've played. What have I clicked the wrong button here and I didn't. This is annoying. Oh dear. Oh dear. Well, I guess we're in it now, I suppose. Sorry, you had to see that. Again, I've picked up Magic Online this week, so I'm incredibly rusty despite having played who knows how much Legacy over the years. Okay, there's the Wasteland, which is why we put the Urborg back. So I am making some plays. I'm making correct plays, I'm just misclicking, which is not really where I want to be. Spirit of Labyrinth doesn't do anything against my deck. What creature type is this? A spirit. Obviously, it's a Spirit of the Labyrinth. Sure. That's not a very exciting thing to put play engineer on. Okay, so we're going to play this out because we've got Wasteland, but then if they play more guys out, I can Toxic Deluge. I ideally want to get 2 guys with a Deluge before it's worth my time. Again, Life Total is a resource. I want to be able to marshal it as best I can. So we'll see what they play now. Spirit of the Labyrinth is an interesting one. Obviously, because it's the Yorian build, they've got so many slots to fill. They have some cards they just can't actually take out because they've only got 15 sideboard cards and a deck of 80 cards. So this doesn't really do anything. It's bad against my first strike guys that he's seen. Seems like an odd choice to keep in. It just means that they didn't have enough good cards. Okay, the Krakus means that the Dark Depths plan is probably not on. I keep draw. So now we have a really cool plan that we're going to do. So we're going to play the Thespian stage, and if they try to wasteland it, then I'm going to copy a swamp. So the problem I have here is if they play a Stoneforge Mystic out of this, they go and get Cauldron and they attack me with the Cauldron. Okay, so they've got 2 Spirit Labyrinths. So your playing engineers are looking pretty good now. They're going to go up 1. Okay, they've gone up 1. So they're heading towards Yorion via Flicker Wisp and Recruiter of the Guard. Now the downside is I can't tap this and copy a thing whilst the Wasteland is up. So it's an interesting one. So this turn we're going to kill these 2 3/1s, I think. And if they put a Flicker Wisp in, it's going to die anyway. So I have an option here of trying to bait the Wasteland. Is it worth trying to bait the Wasteland here? I don't think so, because I don't want to pay life for my Toxic Deluge. Okay, well that's a good one. It means I'm probably losing. I'm going to play the Ancient Tomb out and see if that gets the Wasteland in a minute. So I'm going to play this and play this Plague Engineer, which is going to kill off their guys. So I'm going to name Spirit. Nice little 2-for-1. It's not really the card I want. So again, I'm holding this up so I can copy things. I can also copy a Wasteland if I need to. If I'm going to be drawing another Thespian stage and depthing that way. Also clocks. I need to make sure that they burn more of their clock than I burn of mine. Kind of even on clock, which isn't ideal. Well, they're probably not going to. They're probably not going to Wasteland. They're probably not going to block here, so I think we get 2 points of damage in here. I'm trying to think what they have on 4. Palace Jailer is the main one I can think of. I'm not a D&T player, as you probably guessed. I'm more of a combo man. But obviously anything they put in that doesn't have first strike is going to die to this, so I think it's a safe attack. I don't want to trade this. It's already done its job. It's not like it's holding the fort down. I don't think I can afford to use this and kill my own guy. I think we have to... I think this game is over, to be honest. I think they're ahead. I think we may... Like, there's an argument we could have mulliganed to 3. 3 or 4. Maybe 4 would have been better. There's definitely 4 card hands that can win, like, well, basically turn 1, to be honest. So you can have your ley line in play and just ramp out with rituals and stuff into Helm on turn 1. Obviously, you know, it's a bit of a rare hand to get, but we'll try and waste this guy's time a little bit and see if we can see more of their deck, see if they play a Pithing Needle or not. Okay, so they put the Yorion into hand and they can play the Yorion now. I got the Flicker Wisp. What's the Flicker Wisp going to do? I don't really want to do that, do I? Alright, 6 the rest of this turn. I think it's going to loop these things in play. So I can kill both of these guys, but it's going to put me to 2. Which is not great. I'm pretty sure I'm dead here. But they've got a lot of operations to go through, so they can take a little bit of clock damage. It's not really a way that I like to win games at all, but you know, if they're going to spend a lot of time tanking and wasting my time, I might as well. Okay. So play this out. 1, 2. 3. Forget this toxic. I guess I maybe should have attacked there and got 2 more points in. That was a bit of an error. Oh, I played the wrong amount. What am I doing? Completely lost my mind there. Yeah, it's like 1 o'clock here now, so I'm a little bit tired, so apologies. Okay, I think we run this back, and we're just going to go in for trying to get the old turn 1 Helm's Deep going on. Oh, I still got another round after as well before I go to bed. Sorry, this is I was going to play. I wanted to do a different deck this evening because I thought I'd recorded a 3-2 league with this earlier, but I pressed the wrong buttons. Yes, I'd like to go first. So the mulligan decision is where a lot of the play comes like this. A lot of non-blue decks, the mulligan decisions are really, really key, much more so than blue decks. This doesn't actually do anything. What does this do? It kills off some guys, possibly, but it doesn't really do a lot. So I don't think I can keep this one. I don't think this is good enough. I think we have to mulligan. What does this hand do? This hand looks alright. I've got a plan to win the game and I've got some removal. I need to put some cards on the bottom of my library. So we need to keep this for the combo. I would quite like to keep a removal spell, but I don't know if I can. So I need to keep the mana sources. The Dark Depths is an easy one to go. I think we get rid of a stage and we just rely on the fact that I have a lot of ways of removing, a lot of ways of making mana in my deck. The reason I'm leaning out on this one is because I need my black source. If they just wasteland straight away, they're not taking off black. And this deck is a little bit more vulnerable to wasteland than maybe it should be. So again, maybe I should be mixing up the mana base a bit more. Oh yeah, the Saga plan hasn't really happened that much here. But again, it's a small sample size of games. So now we play the Urborg out. We play my Doughty Voidwalker. So now the problem with Doughty Voidwalker is it does die to Solitude. So they do have a 0 mana answer for it that can stop the Helm Obedience combo. Can always try just use the fair Helm Obedience mode and try and snag a good creature, but that's not really where I want to be. Interesting. So they have the Aethervar, but they don't have the land taxing stuff to go with it, which is interesting to me. Okay. So I can represent lethal next turn with the Helm. Or I can make my Thespian stage safer for the future. I didn't come here to not play 2-card combos. Let's make it with black mana as a tradition. Solitude is good here. Okay, I just have to phase their draw step and hope they don't have in their 6 cards. So this is obviously vulnerable to quite a lot of things right now. But they gotta have it, and they're an 80-card deck, so they might not have it. They're trying to pay costs, so I think they have something here. No? Okay, interesting. Maybe they're waiting for me to go for it. Which is interesting. If they have something like a... just trying to think how my creature... If they have like a Phyrexian Revoker now, that would be very good for me. If they spend their turn doing that, and then I get to sudden edit it away and just kill them anyway. We'll see. I'm not sure what the plateau is for. It could be Meltdown. Okay, so I'm untapping here. This is an interesting one. Well, we take the attack because that's free. And then we have a choice. Do we try and go for it? Or do we not try and go for it? I'm ahead on board right now, and I have a removal spell that I can hold up whilst having my helm up. So I think we just sit back, and if they give me an opportunity to, you know, if they tap out or something, then I mill them. Or if they go to kill my creature, I mill them. So basically need to have 2 removal spells here. So at the very least, I can get a nice 2 for 1. Obviously depends what my helm mills, if anything. Because Helm is a weird card. A lot of old text. Non-basic lands are mountains. Sure. That doesn't really impact me here. Sure. I guess we just make... So I guess we found out what the plateau is for. Like, the sudden edict, while that guy's on board, is always going to just get a guy. So I might as well pop it off pretty much as soon as and make sure I have my mana for other things. I guess we just carry on this same play until we don't have to anymore. It's an interesting game, weirdly, somehow. I basically don't want to ever tap out for the rest of this game. So if they use a removal spell, I want to be able to mill the whole deck. Now, there is a chance that they have no removal spell and I'm letting them draw into it. But again, I'm the one who's putting pressure on right now. So, and I've got ways of cleaning up their board if they do put on pressure without dropping my combo. So this is probably the correct play in my opinion. Now, if they tap out completely, Timeless Dragon. That is an interesting one. That kind of makes me think I should go for it. The end step. We're going to sudden edict away the dragon. And I would like to untap and draw. I think the correct play here is, if we look at the exile zone, would I like a 5/5 dragon rather than a 3/2 Doughty Voidwalker? I don't actually know. If they're going to remove this guy, I get it though. So I think we cast this, targeting them. X is 1. They have to have Solitude here. Oh, I guess they've got this as well. Flicker Wisp. They're going to Flicker Wisp out my Doughty Voidwalker. That's an interesting one. If the top card of their library is a guy, that's not great. So I could get a 5/5 flyer here. Or I could try and spin the wheel with the Helm. This is a really difficult decision, actually. I've only got 3 cards left in hand. This puts things back into its owner's control. So I think we just let this happen. Because I don't want them to flip stuff and then get it back. Okay. So we don't get anything off the Helm, unfortunately. We just got this terrible creature that I didn't really want. But the Doughty Voidwalker is going to come back in. So we've got not a lot going on there. I think we have to go for it there because they're tapped out, so they only have 1 answer there. And they're not going to let this go. So they're going to take this up now and go into... Oh no, they got another Flicker Wisp. Sure. Okay, so we need to draw... Yeah, the Caracas is pretty bad as well there. Sure, that's fine. What we're going to do is we're going to attack and then we're going to kill their 1/1s. And maybe the Mediocre Man Beatdown is going to get there. So we're gonna. Oh no, what are they playing here? They're putting Yorion into their hand. I see. Copy target land. So I can either copy the Caracas here to keep the Yorion away, which I think I will do. Or I could copy a basic land to protect it from Wasteland. But I don't think we're on a 2020 plan here with Flicker Wisp in play. Let's have a look. So we're going to be attacking here. Yep, 3. Another Flicker Wisp, is it? This will be great for me if it is. This is excellent for me. I get to get 3 for 1. Okay, I'm going to tap down with the Caracas. I'm going to use the correct amount of life this time, and I'm going to get a 3 for 1 off of that card. And then my guy's going to come back. And we're all good. So this is presumably going to tick up to Yorion now. We suspected they had the other Flicker Wisp in hand, but I didn't expect they just throw it out randomly like that. That seems very ill-fated to me. They left on 3, which means they probably have a Recruit of the Guard or another Flicker Wisp. Basic Mountain. What we got here? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so they're just going to play Yorion out. Are they going to reset their vial? No. Okay, well I have a Caracas, so that's pretty good for me. Combat. Attack. Am I finally going to get them below 10? Yes, okay, so 3 more turns. I just need to play 3 more turns. I'm keeping these in hand in case I need to ramp out into a... well, obviously I've got nothing to play anyway, but I want to be able to Helm of Obedience if I draw it. So I could take 4 here, but I don't see there's any point. Return target legendary creature to its own hand. Goodbye. Beaten by your own Caracas. Are you just going to play it again? 3, 4. Yeah, they're just going to keep playing it. It does mean if they ever need to reset their vial for something. I don't know, not sure why they would, because they're not exactly worried about counter spells from me. I'm going to attack. They might just be sandbagging a removal spell waiting for the last moment as well, in case they can catch me trying to go for a combo and defeating my Helm. It's annoying that the Thalia was on top. I'm going to keep this in hand for now, so they're thinking about more things. Maybe I should be playing this because of Thalia, but I think I have enough mana anyway. Like, this is a race that isn't a race, so... just keep turning this guy. 2 more turns of this nonsense. Same again, sure. This is an interesting one. I'm going to play this out. And then I'm going to go to tax. Sure. Now I could have played this out to okay, it doesn't matter. I was going to say I could play out the ley line, so I had redundancy in case I draw the Helm, But I can then go 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I can play both anyway. So I had that covered. All right, so we're 2 and 2, I think. So playing for our money back, I think. All right, catch the next round. Okay, so we lost the die roll in the final round, and our opening hand does literal nothing apart from make a lot of mana. So it'd be good if I was playing Storm, maybe, with a little payoff there. But anyway, so we're going to mulligan this one. So this hand has a very clear path to winning the game. We have Helm on turn 1, so hopefully they're playing Reanimate and we just get a free win. But if not, then we can play turn 2 Helm, turn 3 Crack It and win. So this seems pretty good. I think the weak link here is probably the Hex Mage, so we can represent a little Saga game perhaps early on, because the Saga can effectively tap for 2 with finding a artifact mana. So I think we're going to play this into a Saga game. This is a nice hand. Schooling Tarn. Okay, so we might be looking at Delver here. Obviously, a lot of decks run Schooling Tarn, so that's a bit of an overstatement. It's Delver. We'll see, hopefully, from the... Well, hopefully not from the first turn. Hopefully it's Delver, but they got a really bad start and haven't got any 1-drops. Preordain, which is not something you see in Delver decks generally. So this is making me think it's more likely possibly a type of Storm deck. Storm decks tend to have Preordain in because you need the extra filtering. Or it could be a Show and Tell deck. If it's a Show and Tell deck, then I'm absolutely laughing because I get to... Oh, wait, no, because they have... No, yeah, I get to mill them out. Yeah, because Emrakul doesn't do anything. As long as I get to make a mana first. If it's Omnitell, then they can Omniscience me. But having an extra turn won't help if they Show and Tell in Omniscience. Unless they have a way of reshuffling there. I guess they can probably draw enough cards to discard the Emrakul. We'll see. But we're still gonna stay on plan. We're gonna play our Saga, play the Saga game for a turn, and then we're gonna kill them. There's no point playing it and then going, well, I can just do the same. But I'm gonna keep this up. If they Show and Tell, I get to mill their whole library, which is pretty good, I hear. Hopefully they Show and Tell and put in a guy that doesn't have... I guess Emrakul is what I want them to put in, right? Because if they put in Grizzlebrand, they can then draw up a load of cards and shuffle in end of turn. But again, I guess if they go to draw in response, I Helm of Obedience. It's an interesting one. If they have Sneak Attack, that's bad for me, though. That is bad for me. Okay. That's not really where I want to be. Why couldn't you have Show and Tell? It's not often you ask your Show and Tell opponent to please play Show and Tell, but I can't do anything about that. Am I dead? It doesn't look like I'm going to do Squiddly Diddly. Okay, so I'm going to lose all my permanents. Great. Helm of Obedience can randomly luck sack me into stuff in this matchup as well. Hopefully they're on 1 card now, so hopefully they don't have anything and I can just rebuild. They should probably know what I am here. Well, they should know some elements of what I'm playing at least. Seeing the main deck leyline is usually a giveaway. So we have options. I think we make the Ancient Tomb here. That gives me a chance to Helm of Obedience them if they Show and Tell and maybe put in one of their creatures. It gives me 2 more. It gives me 2 shots. So I'm not going to play the second Ancient Tomb. So there is an argument for just playing the Swamp there. But I think if they Show and Tell something in, I desperately need a response. And that's got to be... And, you know, maybe I get an Emrakul so they can't attack with their Grizzlebrand. You know, we're talking low percentages here, but it's more than 0. So it's going to come up if you play enough games. think I'm slowly getting better with the program because I've got plenty of time here. Let's have a look. So this old Dark Depths doesn't seem the greatest right now. If I play the Dark Depths and I draw Thespian stage next turn, I can win the game. So I'm going to play the Dark Depths. They must be thinking a right load of nonsense over here, but here we are. Basically, we just have to hope my opponent bricks for enough turns that I can win the game. Here's one of those ones where if they had the show and tell, I win that game. If they have the sneak attack, I don't. But it's just one of those things. Sometimes you get them, sometimes you don't. They'd be left with one card. So they drew, yeah. So if they'd have had the show and tell, then I would have milled them out, then lost all my permanents and gone to 5. But then they'd just draw an Emrakul for the next turn, and that would be their library empty, and they wouldn't be able to draw up and discard either because they only had one card in hand. So that would have been a nice easy win, but unfortunately not. I don't actually think show and tell is great in the meta at the moment. But yeah, it's still a powerful deck for doing powerful things. Like putting Emrakuls into play and Griselbrands into play is very good. I think the Reanimator deck is just a better way of putting those things in, because I think the proactive discard to cover you is better than the blue stuff. Obviously this is not vulnerable to graveyard hate. Okay, so this is me dead. I will concede the game. Begin sideboarding. So we would like to make them discard all of their cards. We would also like to make them lose their creatures. Is another thing we want. What does this mean for my deck? This is not a Shadowspear game. This is not an Expedition map game. The Dark Rituals into Hymn to Turak. Still good after all these years. I'm not really convinced that the Leyline of the Void plan is a good one here. Helm of Obedience seems a little weak to me. Chalice of the Void is good against all the cantrips and slows them down. So I think we're probably trimming something like this. So we've got this for Griselbrand. We can accelerate out into these things. So there is an option of trimming Dark Rituals, because basically Dark Ritual just accelerates me into these things, basically. But I think smashing down an early Court of Ambition or something is very good. There should be another Hymn to Turak in there, actually. There you go. And we'll trim down 1 just so we've got slightly less redundant draws, but we should have enough to cast a 2-drop on turn 1 with this amount of things in there. So we're going to submit this one. I would like to play first. What does this hand do? Nothing. We will mulligan. What does this hand do? This hand makes Pithing Needle and then does nothing. So we'll mulligan. What does this hand do? This hand makes Chalice on turn 1, or it makes Court of Ambition on turn 2. I'm going to... Oh, this is a tricky one. I'm going to keep this. So we've got to put 2. So the Hex Mage is going. Now the question is, do I want to... I think the play here is to put the Hymn to Turak back. Yeah, so we put the Hymn to Turak back and play this. But then if I put the Hymn to Turak back and then play Chalice on 0 to stop any Lotus Petals, so I don't get turn 1. And then turn 2 play Court of Ambition. But if that hits a counter spell, I'm in trouble. Or we bottom the Court of Ambition and we make turn 2 Hymn to Turak Chalice. Which means I'm dead on if they have a turn 1. But if they don't have a turn 1, I'm in reasonable shape, I think. Do I like that line? I kind of need the Court of Ambition to pull out of this is the problem. I think we're going to do the higher risk, higher reward plan. I'm going to play this for 0 to stop there. I think it's not really where I want to be. If they force this, then I'm dead, because it means they have the kill on turn 1. So we've shut off the Lotus Petals. They don't have the turn 1 on me. but they pause for quite a while, which probably just is their stops, to be honest. But maybe they were thinking about it. I think I'm in trouble here. I think this was a risky play. No, hindsight's 2020 and all that, but I think going this low. Okay, we'll try. They are a Daze deck, so I'm going to play this as a Saga. Well, they can be a Daze deck at least. I'm going to play Dark Ritual. So if I play this, and they are a Daze deck, and they Daze this, then I've got nothing. If I play this out, I've got less mana for the future. This is tricky. I can play around Daze. I really need this to resolve. I think I'm going to play around this just to play around Daze. I'm going to force a will and I'm going to be completely spent for the whole game. That's probably what's going to happen. That's the problem with all in combo decks. Waiting to pay costs. Okay, they're brainstorming, which means they're looking for any removal spell. Obviously, if they can then turn to sneak attack me and get something hit me, then that's very lights out. Hopefully they're brainstorming for a force of will rather than trying to find the best blue card to pitch. Oh, please. Please have my weird sideboard tech be relevant. Okay. So we've got a draw engine up. That's good. Okay, we're up and running now. We can start making Saga tokens, and they're going to be discarding. They're going to get him to Turek every turn, is what this does. So yeah, they're going to get Mind Ride. It's not random. They're going to lose 2 cards every turn. Obviously, they don't need that many cards to go off, and they do have a lot in their hand. But every turn it goes by and I accrue more stuff. I hope that I did play around that Daze, and that play looked really good to that guy. Because he must have had some sort of protection with a full grip like that. So on my turn after this, turn after my next turn, I can get a Pithing Needle to stop the Grizzlebrand from being a draw engine as well. Obviously, if they have a Grizzlebrand in play, then I'm probably in trouble. But I do have all of these Sudden Edict, so if I can get rid of the super scary part of Grizzlebrand and just answer him, that'd be nice. If I beat this guy with Court of Ambition, he'll be confused. I doubt he's played against it before. It's not a very common card. I'm going to take 6 instead. Do you want to lose 2 cards or take 6? It is a Punisher mechanic. Punisher mechanics are notoriously bad, but it's a bit of a rock and hard. It's not really for this matchup, to be honest. It's more for the control decks where it becomes an issue for them. Sure. I'm going to play this and go to the end of turn. I'm going to draw a card because the Monarch is a fair ability. Obviously, the Monarch ability is what actually makes this good. Like, the Punisher mechanic is sort of an addition, really. So what I can do here is I can copy my Urza Saga with my Thespian stage and start ticking it up. And just making my own things. But I think I need to try and win the game here. So I'm going to make some tokens. I get to see what my next draw is before I decide if I copy or... if I copy or make a token, make the second token. So I get to see one more card first, which could change my thoughts on the subject. Because I want to be able to Sudden Edict if I draw it, which would change how I'm going to tap down for a start. Hopefully they had a handful of Lotus Petals and they got annoyed. What are you going to do this time? You discard cards or lose life? I'm surprised. Like every time I just take the 6 straight away for the first one. But again, it's weird cards that people haven't played against, and obviously my deck is a little bit unconventional. So if I copy this, get Pithing Needle. Oh, I forgot to make the token in the turn. Jesus, sorry. I'm so sorry about you people having to watch this absolute shambles of a player. I'm going to. This is going to copy this. This is going to tap. Okay, they're fetching because of the Pithing Needle. They don't want me to randomly spike when they lands, which is fair enough. So there is an option of do I name Sneak Attack with my Pithing Needle, or do I name Grizzlebrand? And that is an interesting one. I think the correct play might actually be Sneak Attack this time, purely because they didn't show and tell last turn. And if Grizzlebrand is in play, at least I have a chance of sudden edicting it. Whereas if they sneak attack it in, if they sneak attack in an Emrakul, I just immediately lose. So I think I have to name Sneak Attack. And then we're going to play an Ancient Tomb. So this is the one turn my shields are down for Sudden Edict as well. Okay, so we drew the Sudden Edict as well. So this is the turn I need them to. Well, they can't sneak attack, so this is fine. But obviously, Grizzlebrand would not be. If Grizzlebrand takes a load of cards and doesn't make enough of it, and I can kill it, then the Court of Ambition is just going to strip their hand. I'm very annoyed I missed my token. That was incredibly problematic. Classic new to MTGO player. End step. No, I don't have any end step. Okay. What are you going to do with my Court of Ambition? Surely you're going to take 6 this time. No, they're just discarding all their cards. Okay. Sure. I guess I'm just going to play Dark Depths and have a 2020 on board. Seems like a good strategy. So I can make an end of turn 2020, and then I can sudden edict anything I want. I'm drawing a million cards. This is great. I suspect they're probably going to have some sort of weird bounce effect. But they only have 2 cards in hand, so maybe they're hoping that I press the wrong button again. Go to that end step. I would like to copy this land, and I will tap my Ancient Tomb to do so. The game has ended. Sure. Okay, so we get game 3 out of them. So I wasn't particularly upset with how I boarded. The Court of Ambition drew me into some more stuff and was fine. Like, that's kind of what it's there for. To just draw me some stuff. Like, it's better in control matchups, obviously, but it was fine. The Dark Depths package seemed alright, because it's something they can't counter with the Thespian stage, and they're a counter spell deck. Chalice of the Void on the play is less good. So there is an argument for trying to board into just the immediate win. But I think we just have to run it back. Like, I probably played this against Sneak and Show twice before, and that was with a slightly different incarnation of the build. So this hand can make a Dark Depths eventually, but doesn't really do anything. It does have a Sudden Edict, which is nice, but it will be on their turn 3, which could just be too slow. And it means if I'm holding the Edict up, I can't Chalice of the Void. So this hand would be great with any acceleration, but I can't keep it as it is, I don't think. This hand is fine, I think. I don't think we need 2 Ancient Tunes. We put one of those back. So we have the Chromox is another option to put back as well. But what we can do here is we can have a Sudden Edict available for turn 1. Okay, just a ponder. Nothing too harmful here. So we can make turn 1 Court of Ambition if we want here, which was quite good last time. We would need something to... I don't really want to pitch this Sudden Edict, so I need something to put under the Chromox if I want to do that. Let's see what we draw. A Thespian Stage. So a Thespian Stage is pretty much blank here. So I think the best play I can do here is play my Swamp. And if I need to, I can Dark Ritual into Sudden Edict. It's not pretty, but it'll do. Alternatively, I can put a land in off of the Show and Tell and then Sudden Edict that way. But this backs me up against Sneak Attack as well, so I can avoid being attacked by a creature. Obviously, if it's Grizzlebrand, the problem isn't it attacks you; it's that it draws them 14 cards, or 21 cards if they manage to connect with it. But again, this is going to try and be a Quantum of Ambition game. So, a bit ambitious, but well, sure. And it's like that's the throne at Helm's Deep, I guess, right? Oh dear, it's been a long old league, this one. It's not really what you expect queuing with this giant nothing but combos deck, all the combos, but it's the life we lead, and I'm probably talking nonsense because it's like 20 past 1. But here we are. It's a very long time to resolve a ponder, which is interesting. I've got 15 minutes on the clock, and it shouldn't take longer than 15 minutes this game, one way or the other, I wouldn't imagine. Okay, so now we have a Dark Ritual. That's very interesting. If I play this, so I play this, that's 1-2, and I can print this, and I can still Dark Ritual Thespian Stage if I need to. Not Thespian Stage. Let's play this Ancient Tomb out first. Let's play Chromox. Exile and non-artifact. Okay, so I've done it right this time. So then we tap 2, tap this, Dark Ritual. Let's see if we can court them this time, or are we going to get 2 for 1? Obviously with Dark Rituals there's going to be 2 for 2. Okay, so they have the Force of Will, which makes my hand a little bit less exciting. Sure. So what did they exile? A Brainstorm. Sure. That's the end of my turn. Basically, I have to hope they don't have Sneak Attack this turn and a thing to activate it, because that would be very bad for me. But now we're basically on Draw Dark Depths plan. Okay. So this feels a lot like a setup turn again. So I'm not entirely sure about the Chromoxes in this deck either, if I'm being perfectly honest. Like, you want to be able to turn 1 things, but I don't know if it's good enough. I think a lot of the time it'd be better as a Swamp to help fix the colours without it. But again, you are playing 4 ley lines in this deck, so you quite often have fuel to put under it. Obviously, I've boarded them out in this matchup, but let's see. Okay, probably not a discard deck. So I'm going to play this Thespian Stage out, and I'm going to hold open this Sudden Edict, and then next turn I'm going to play a Dark Depths, and then I'm going to activate it, and then I'm going to try and kill them with a 20/20. I've got a game plan. Mages of the Moon is very good against me. Sorry, Blood Moon is very good against me. Mages of the Moon, not so much. They're fetching here. That's probably just to clear the top. What we got here? Show and tell. If it's Omniscience, I will lose, but otherwise I'll be okay. Sure. Put this into play. They put Grizzlebrand into play. So they have lost this game, I think. So they're going to draw 7 cards. So I think now is the best time to make them lose their guy. Sudden Edict is quite the upgrade from the old Diabolic Edict. So I get to stop them drawing 7 cards there. And I need to remember to make my 20/20 at the end of turn. If they don't have a Lotus Petal, they will lose the game. Because they need mana to bounce this. I don't think they can interact with it for free. Yes, okay, so that was the final game. So we finished 3-2, just like we did in the other league that I recorded but made a mistake with, so I didn't actually record it properly, so I couldn't upload it. So well, at least we got the replacement of 3. So what did we learn about this deck list today? Well, I think the mana base is greedy. I don't think anyone's going to argue with me that the mana base is greedy there, because let's face it, it is. 4 as a Saga is probably too many. The Chrome Moxes didn't feel great. They were fine in that game. The general sort of, the 2 packages I think work quite well. What I would possibly be in the market for was the Suspend Tutor, so I can maybe find some of these pieces. So possibly trim some of these Sagas, maybe trim a couple of Sagas for Swamps, trim the Chrome Moxes for a couple of Tutors, so I can find the other halves of things. That seems like a way I can go. Sideboard-wise, Plague Engineers are great. I'd almost tempted to put another one in because I'm seeing a lot of Elves and Goblins at the moment online. And then Sudden Edicts are great. Toxic Deluge kind of does a similar job to Plague Engineer, but it's more flexible. The Court of Ambition was fine. I didn't get to resolve it against a control player. It did win me the game versus the Sneak and Show player, which was nice. But I don't think it's a great card in that matchup. It's just simply fine. Overall, I think the deck's good. I'm going to tweak it a little bit, and I'm definitely going to play another league of it at some point anyway. So I hope you enjoyed that, and please like and subscribe and drop a comment. Let me know what you think. And I'm going to be doing, hopefully, legacy videos multiple times a week, possibly even 5 times a week if I can get the time. All right, so thank you very much for watching, and take care of yourselves. Bye.